This message is going to do something to us, is going to change us. And when we listen to this message, I just believe that it is the message that the Lord wants everyone to listen. Even those who might be listening or watching through the media, I say, Lord, help them wherever they are. Whoever is listening, whoever is capturing this word, let this word do something in his life, change his life, because the word is here to change us. The word is here to build us. The word is here to mold us. And we are standing today, we are saying whatever God commands, we are going to do. Hallelujah. Today, as we are talking about building the church, I am going to conclude by focusing on why churches are not growing. Why churches are stagnant. So, and these are some of the principles that are the ones that are hindering, that are the ones that are preventing the church to grow. So I'm going to touch on those principles, but there will be some references that I will go straight to the book of Galatians. We'll go straight to the book of Galatians, chapter 5. The first verse, it says, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. So when we are here, we must know that we have been set aside by Christ. So we have been located by Christ out of where we were and to come to the church. We have been set. We are now free in Him. The Lord, or the Bible is saying, stand firm then and do not let yourself be burdened again. When you have been free or you are set aside, you have been located, you need to stand firm so that you don't be burdened again by the yoke of the slavery. We have been in slavery. Where we are coming from, we were in slavery. So now when we have been chosen, when we are now free, then we need to stand firm. Because standing firm, there are fruits of standing firm. Not being shaken, not being moved where we are, there are fruits. Now, let me go straight to verse 22 in the same chapter. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love. The fruit. You see, when we talk about a fruit, we are talking about something that comes out from the tree. You plant a tree, and after planting a tree, you irrigate and you put some fertilizers or whatever so that the tree can be very much strong and it grow up, and then you are expecting that tree to bear fruits when you plant a tree. So it's the same to us. When you come to church, that is where you are going to be molded. That is where you are going to be irrigated. That is where you are going to be fertilized, so that at the end there must be fruits. Now, what are these fruits that the Bible is talking about? The fruits is the spirit of love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are the fruits that we are going to bear. So we are talking about when you stick to the word, when you stand firm from where you come from and come to the church, and you don't allow anything to move you, to shake you. At the end, you are going to bear fruits. At the end, you are going to bear fruits. And that is what the Bible is saying. There are principles that I said that here we need to stick to those principles that can help the church to grow, that that can help the church to stand firm, not to be stagnant, not to be at one place. Hallelujah. At the end, we want to see a church bearing fruits. At the end, we want to see a lot of good things done by the church. Hallelujah. There are key principles to avoid if we want our church to grow. Remember, this message is not saying that in the church or in our church we have got these problems. But what the message is all about is that once you have been taken out, there are certain things that you must watch out. So that when you are in the church, when you are building the church, you must avoid those things. So that you cannot be a church that will end up not growing. We need to avoid certain principles in order for the church to grow. So you have been selected. The Bible is saying that now you are free. You must stand firm. You are free from the burdens that you once had out there. And those things we don't, or we no longer want to see ourselves being in slavery under such things. Because if we don't stand firm, we are going to go back. The church is going to go back. The church will not grow. Once the church is not growing, it means that people will go back to the slavery. So that is why I'm saying that when we talk about this principle, we are not saying that in the church we have got these problems. The only thing is that we are saying how to avoid things like this that can cost us. How to avoid such things that can cost us. That's why we said, or we started by saying, whatever God commands. God has chosen you for a certain thing, to be something in the church. Just stick and say whatever God commands. And you continue your life, always say whatever God commands. Hallelujah. Let's go and read. Looking at the first principle that maybe is one of the principles that we might have talked about in the past sermons. Division and strife. Division. Division in the church. And strife. If you go to the book of James, we read from the book of James, chapter 3, verse 16. Chapter 3, verse 16. It says, for where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and evil practice. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, if you find that in the church, we find that there is division and strife, this is where we are opening the doors of the devil. That is where you are going to see that there is disorder. That is where you are going to see that there will be every evil practice. Because once you are divided, it means that you open the doors for the devil to come. And when the devil come in, we are not going to have order in the church. We are not going to have peace in the church. Because you have opened the practice of this devil. You have opened the evil practice. And that means there will be confusion in the church. And what happens when there is disorder? The church will stop functioning. What happens when there are evil practices? That means it's no longer a church. And the people will start to go away. And that means you are no longer going to grow spiritually. Because now we are talking about evil practices in the church. We are talking about disorder in the church. There is no longer order in the church. So that means the church will no longer grow spiritually. Because when we talk about growing here in the church, we are referring to growing spiritually. And when the church grows spiritually, it means that we will be able to see a church growing. It means the church will be now in a good position. It means that the church will now be in a position where you are able to see the manifestation of God in the church. That is only when division is not there. Then how do we address that? The Bible tells us to go to Romans. It tells us to go to Romans. Romans chapter 14, verse 19. Romans chapter 14, verse 19. It says, chapter 14, verse 19, it says, let us therefore make every effort. Let us therefore make every effort to do what leads to peace. When we are in a church, let us strive for peace. Because when we strive for peace, there will be no division in the church. When we strive for peace, there will be order in the church. When we strive for peace, not only for peace and mutual edification. We strive for peace and mutual edification. We try to be together. We fight at all costs that we cannot or we must not be divided. Because once we are divided, when there is division, there's going to be evil practices in the church. And the church will not grow spiritually. And the church will end. Look at so many churches that are there, that were started, that you once know about them. But once division comes in, the church don't grow. And when the church is not growing, not everyone will like to be in a church that is not growing. They will go away. So that is why at all costs we must have all sorts of things to bring us together in order to avoid division in the church. Because that is the key principle to avoid division and strife. And the only way to avoid is that you do at all costs. You fight at all costs that there must be peace in the church. That there must be peace in the church. Number two, something to avoid